for inviting us to be here today, and to for the interest shown in Cellular, to share our experience and to share a little bit our perspective of what architecture and what should be architecture, engineer, and urban planning. First of all, I want to say that I spoke English better than today a few years ago, and maybe some moments it won't be easy. So I will profit that have some colleagues that speak Spanish here, and maybe they will help me if there are some words that are difficult to come out. Well, I have a presentation that I share the screen. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, perfectly.
Good. Right. So, first of all, I would like to, today I'm coming here a little bit to share our experience in Cellular and our perspective of how do we understand architecture and our job as architects, and where do we come from, and what our mission, vision, and values. And I will focus once I will stay like 10 minutes at the beginning talking a little bit about our origins, but after I will focus in one project that a little bit integrates the different areas and the different values that for us are important. And after that, the idea is to stop a little bit and to being able to have like an open conversation and a little bit focus into your main interests. Okay. So Cellular is a cooperative of architects, or mainly architects, but is a multidisciplinary team founded in 2010. At that time, it was the first cooperative of architects in our country. We are talking about working cooperatives, okay, not about housing cooperative. We're talking about how to organize your society as a non-for-profit society organized in democratic values in a structure, and a cooperative structure, okay? So it was founded by 4 architects and urban planners. I was one of them. And we were joined, we met each other by social activism on issues related to the right to housing, the right of housing in about 2003, okay? At that time, we were young architects or recently graduated, or even some of us in our last years of the career. And we were like trying to enter or beginning to enter in the labor market. And the context at that time basically was like very influenced by 2 issues. One was the real estate bubble. At that time, the prices of the housing were really high in rent and in property in Barcelona and in all Spain, where those years were the years of record of construction and of prices of access to housing. And prices were at that time rising more and more every day. That in one side. And in the other side, that's the other side of the same coin, we could say, the enormous crisis of access to housing. At that moment, the lack of right to access to housing due to this escalation of both rental and property prices, and the lack of social or affordable flats for young people was something like very, very important at that time. And at that time was where we were trying to live somewhere, and to at the same time as architects to put our knowledge so that the access to housing or the access to architecture could be something feasible. So at that time, the search for new models of access to housing led us to know the Danish Andel model. I think you've seen Laborda example and other examples associated before. And at that time was when we founded the Sostracivic. At the beginning, it was an association. It was not still a housing cooperative. But in 2004, we founded this association, which later would become a cooperative, grant to house housing cooperative. Okay, that was in 2010. I explained this a little bit. I explained this because it's important that you understand that this is a little bit about our background, and our values today as a cooperative are very much focused into these issues and based upon these problems and this situation, this reality of that time. So Celobert was born, therefore, with the idea of becoming a multidisciplinary technical team with a clear vocation to put at the service of society the technical knowledge of architecture, engineering, and urban planning with a threefold objective. I show you some images related to that moment who make that these values I'm talking about do make sense. This was like a little bit the landscape of Spain at that time, buildings being constructed all the time, and with some data related to prices of renting in this case, but as you see, they were from 2000 until now, they have been increasing most of the time. And it seemed at that time that it would be increasing forever and ever. So the objectives of Celobert when we were founded at that time were to promote the right to housing through a technical support for public policies. So one important part of our cooperative is destined to assist municipalities to develop their housing plans. Another point would be to fight against climate change through the commitment to ecological rehabilitation and construction and minimum carbon emissions. And finally, the empowerment of civil society and democratic values and co-responsibility through the participation of citizens and users in the design or planning processes. So basically, we are talking about three main targets. First, right to housing by policies and also by implementing what you have already been seeing, this grant of use cooperatives, fight against climate change, and empowerment of civil society through the processes we use and through the process of design of our proposals. So all these, of course, with a cooperative and non-for-profit organization structure. So what it was consistent in terms of we have these values. So these values, first of all, we have to apply them into ourselves. So logically, our organization was a cooperative because it's like a non-for-profit organization because it's the structure that it's like more consistent with these values, especially the one related to empowerment and democracy. So today we are a team of 15 people. This team is made up of architects, but also of urban planners, engineers, technical architects, and even political scientists. And we are, we could say, after these 11 years in a very sweet moment of this journey, in which we are doing a type of work that we understand that it's necessary, and we're happy to being able to doing it, and has of the sense of the world to do it in a context, unfortunately, in a context where the right to housing and the right to the city and also the climate and the democratic crisis are issues that are on the global issues. So the reason to be there is every day like more necessary. So at this time, we basically develop these following types of services. So basically, we have quite a lot of experience in ecological houses. We are talking about single-family houses, also in cooperative housing. These co-housing projects, we are going to talk about them now. Deep rehabilitation. You know what's deep rehabilitation, energy rehabilitation. After we have done also interior eco reforms and all issues related to renovation, not only dwelling or houses, but also offices. And in the other hand, all the other part related to urban planning and housing plans. So housing plans, tools for housing, all the issues, all the tools needed to develop these housing plans that I've mentioned before, and urban planning by itself. Innovation is something that we've been trying to deal with always. So we believe in innovation and we believe in dissemination also. So as cooperative, we try to being innovating with all the different stuff that we have to innovate, but especially also to disseminate this knowledge and to share it with our colleagues and with the society in general. So, well, this is a scheme of different specific projects that we have been doing through the years. And as I told you before, the idea now is to a little bit focus the presentation into the CRS building because it integrates a little bit all these aspects I've been coming through before. It's a project that, first of all, well, we will touch things, we will touch these 5 issues, housing plan and where does the land come from of this project. This has something to do with our activity. We will talk about this grant of use. We won't focus very much into it because I believe that you have already had conversation into that. And after, in terms of the building and the architecture by itself, we will talk about the 3 main commitments or axes, ideas of this project that are related to constructing neighborhood. They are also dealing with community and participative process, and also, as I said before, with climate change. So, first of all, we are talking about a land that is situated in this north side of Barcelona, in the periphery of Barcelona, in a neighborhood called Roquetes or Trinitat Nova. This is a neighborhood that was built in the 60s, 70s, 50s, 60s mostly, and it was an slum. At the beginning, it was an slum neighborhood that, because of activism of local people, of people who are living there, it changed a lot, and all services are there now. But it's well, what is important in this image is to see where is the position of this land, and at the same time, the other 5 red spots, they mark the 5 lots, the 5 pieces of land that belong to municipality and that were transferred to cooperatives that were engaged to do the co-housing project. That means co-housing in terms of community and co-housing in terms of grant to use cooperative. Okay? So the 2 black spots are the 2 first experiences, pilot projects, we could say, that I'm sure you know. One is La Borda in the left-hand side, and the other one is Princesa. These were the 2 first grant of use cooperatives in Barcelona. And after that, the municipality I don't know the name in English exactly, llançar un concurs, made a competition so that it proposed a competition so the cooperative could propose a project. Okay, So why did the municipality do that? Because there was a housing plan that was developed by Celubert with other colleagues. But in this housing plan, one of the strategic issues to develop Barcelona in terms of housing between 2016 and 2025 was to implement and develop and extend the cooperative grant of use system in all the city of Barcelona. So this project we are going to talk about is a response of this policy. Okay. The model, you have already talked about it, but this model of grant to use is a model that, it's not a property, it's not a rental, it's a grant to use where the property or the ownership, it's in hands of the whole cooperative. It's not divided into the people who are living there. And what people need to access there is to introduce an initial capital that is much less than what you need to buy a house or a flat. And after you have to pay monthly a kind of rent that it's a rent that it's permanent in time. Even it can be lower and lower towards as far as the time passes, and it's also permanent, and it's not submitted to the renting law. It means that it can be permanent, because renting law now in Spain, after 5 years, the contract can change and it can rise the price. So this is the context, and now I'm going to enter a little bit more into the building, okay, and into the basement, the neighborhood. We are talking about a piece of land that, as I said, it belongs to the municipality, and it has been transferred to the cooperative for 75 years. And during these years, the cooperative has the mission to build the building and to host the users of this building. Okay, so this land is placed in a very special place. As you see in the left-hand side of this image, it's in the middle of this triangle that it marks this. In the vertex of this triangle, we have the underground station, the public market, and also a community house. The community house that is this building here. In the middle, we have this land. In the right-hand side, you can see that at the left of our plot, we have an urban fabric that is related to this self-promotion housing of 2 or 3 story houses in a housing that have been self-promoted in plots that are 5-6 meter wide. So this is the fabric that we can see. This is the kind of city that we have in this left-hand side of our plot. And in the right-hand side, we have another kind of architecture, much more, we could say, modern architecture, with buildings that are 5-story building and have been designed by the architects and have been promoted in other ways. We have also this square here. It's called the Square of Women of Nou Barris, or Women of Roquetas, in memory of all the women who have been working to upgrade this neighborhood during the 60s and 70s. And our lot is here, and the project has to be here. So one of the main objectives of this project was to try to articulate these 2 kinds of cities that are very different, because we were just in between. So one of the main decisions related to this aspect was to maintain the skyline of this street with this kind of auto-promoted dwellings. Normally are family houses where at the beginning it was one only property, and his sons and daughters were building upper stories, and now they are a little bit of mixture. So one of the main decisions of our building was to maintain this skyline here, and also a second decision, very important, was not to continue here with the
party wall.
Party wall. We could have continued with this party wall up, but we decided to retire it so that we could offer to this street and to this neighborhood not a party wall that it's blind with no texture and no life, but offer a facade, no? And offer a real facade where there is a stair, open stair, and where you have windows of these dwellings that are here. So these were like the two main decisions. This is a render of the project in the intermediate stage, and this is another render of the project with this housing that you can see in this left-hand side, with this volunteer of taking care of these issues, so that we could have like a good turn and a good relationship of this square and this kind of this right-hand side architecture of more contemporary with this left-hand side more self-constructed. These are images of the building where it was being constructed a few months ago, and this is an image of this building of a few weeks ago. Now it's finished. Last week we could certificate the finish of this building, and here you can see with these colors and with these textures this determination of how to deal with this connection in terms of neighborhood, and this color a little bit reflect also this volunteer. If we see Barcelona from the top, we will see mainly two colors. One of these colors is this brick color, as you see all these all these party walls that you see here, of these ceramic party walls. The color of this facade it's a little bit, it wants to reproduce this party wall color, and a little bit put in consideration the history of this self-constructed, self-promoted part of the city, and the other white stone color. These are the two main colors of the city of Barcelona, and a little bit they have been the colors that we have put here a little bit to honor this city, honor this history, and a little bit show the possibility of dialogue into between these two kind of city fabrics or urban fabrics. This is a view of the city from a point very close to this land. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the process now. Okay, this is a building where the objective is not only to provide an apartment or a flat, it's also to provide a community life. Okay, and a community life that begins not only when the building is finished, but it begins when the process of project begins. Okay, so this is an image of this an assembly and of the process of designing, and this building, a part of the process that has been participatory by the people who will be living here in a few weeks or a few months. This process, the objective is also to propose a building that is able to allow this community life. So what has been the main decisions of this project relating to this community, this co-housing project, and these community spaces? Okay, first of all, relating to the ground floor, this is the ground floor of the building. As you see, there is a main corridor that connects the street with this internal point of the building, where we have all the vertical connections, the lift, and also the stairs. And all around this corridor, we have all different kind of community spaces. One of it is this multi-purpose room here and co-working place here. This is open to this square in the right-hand side. And here we have a stockage place where we have a what we call a library of things, when people put things that can share one with each other, tools, whatever. And in this corner, we have a groceries or a food store cooperative, very similar, but actually it will be the same one that it's in La Borda now. What is the objective of all this? This ground floor is thought so that this interaction between the neighborhood and the community is possible and is visible, okay? And also an interesting thing is that the street tile that we have in Barcelona, it gets into the building to this corridor you can see here in gray, and it continues upstairs, okay? We will see this now. This is the first and second floor, and this street tile is put in this orange thing surface that you see here. This is the lift, the stairs, and this area here is what we have what we have named the street landing. So, and street landing. This is the landing of the stairs is here, and from this place you can enter to the different apartments that we don't say apartment, we say privative spaces, but I will talk about apartments so that it's easier now. But this street landing zone, it has it wants to be an space of extension of these privative spaces. And most of these dwellings are very small, are 40 square meters approximately, and this area that we are talking about, this street landing I'm talking about, is also 40 square meters. And in this place, we have the clothesline here in this area, so people can, and we also have the washing machines, okay? So this is a place where people go out, do the washing, they put the clothes here in the clothesline, and also they can, it wants to be like a street, the typical Mediterranean street of a village where children get out and play, where old people can sit in a chair and a table and play cards or whatever. So this is a intermediate community space in a scale, not for all the community, but for the people, the 6 in this case, families that live in this floor, okay? And this scheme is repeated, but different in the different stories. For instance, this is the 3rd floor. This street landing has another geometry, but it has always the washing machine, the clothesline here, and this vocation of being a space of extension of the flat, okay? And this is the 4th and the 5th floor. As you see here, we have detached of the wall that limits with the building next to us. And as far as we go upstairs in the 6th floor, the building retires and goes towards the mountain and follows a little bit the slope of this north side of the city that has Collserola, the mountain next to it. And the urban regulation permitted us to do 7-story or 8-story building in this case, but the story had to continue the slope of this mountain. So, well, some images of this participatory process, and here the axonometry of these community spaces I've been talking about. An important point of this building, because of these terraces that appear because of this slope of the mountain and retirement of the 6th and the 2nd floor, and also of the 3rd floor here, they appear 3 open space terraces where different community activities can take place. For instance, here in the top, in the 7th floor, we have an hort. I don't know the name.
Gardening space or community
gardening space. Thank you. In the 6th floor, there is a space to eat and to even to cook here and to have like fiestas. You know, there's Mediterranean culture. And in the 3rd third floor, there is a space more. Nowadays, they have focused into a space for children in this intermediate floor. Well, this is a section where you can see this volunteer of these private spaces to interact with this community street landing and that we've been talking about. And these street landings are all connected through these stairs and through these vertical connections that permit to go downstairs. And from downstairs, the possibility of relating and connecting directly with the public space. Okay, so we have a gradation of community spaces and of community life also. Here are some images of the building when it was still only in wood, with all the community that will be living there. So these people participate not only in the design process, but also, as you see, they visit the works, they participate in all the different stages. Okay. And finally, related to this engagement of the community and also of Celobert with climate change crisis, we have focused here through two main strategies. One is related to the use of organic materials and dry construction systems. It's very important, this decision in terms of economy. We can talk about it later if we have time. But the main materials of this building are low carbon or even positive carbon materials. The main material is the cross-laminated timber. So at this time, it's the highest building in Spain building timber. This won't last very much because there are new projects of 8, 9, 10-story building. You have to think that in Spain, construction in wood is something very new, nothing to do with North Europe. So mainly cross-laminated timber, lime mortar in the facades, plasterboard in all the partitions, rock wool and fiber wood for all the insulations, acoustic insulation and thermal insulation, and this is also a quite special thing of this building, the commitment with dry construction, so that when deconstruction and recyclation of this building has to be done, it's something easy and low energy demanding and really recyclable. So here an image of one of the apartments before finishes, and another image of this building from this square I've been talking about. Some images of the structural functionment, some images of the executive project. After we can talk about all these issues if they are interesting for you. And here some images of this dry construction system based on this. All these that you see are like a substructure made of paper with gravel that it's introduced inside. All this is put here because of acoustic requirements. Here other images of these wooden spaces. Here all the before closing with plasterboard, all the insulation, the acoustic insulation that that has been required here. At the end of the day, the only part of wood visible is the facade wood, the wood that is in the facades only, because the facades are the element that has less acoustic requirements. And finally, another important issue, apart from the materiality of the building and all the psychoanalysis aspects, one of them very important is all that is related with minimum energy demand. And in this case, our building has been designed with passive house criteria. Okay, so we are talking about capacity and insulation. We are talking about a big amount of thermal insulation. The stanchity means the tightness to the pass of the air. So it's tight. Each apartment by itself is tightened in terms of air passes. All the apartments has cross ventilation. We have solar energy, photovoltaic energy, solar in the roof that is community. It's a community installation. Another very important element is the solar control. So we have element that permit the solar control, very important in our latitude. And also the double flow ventilation system that allows this building to not having a special system of climatization. Okay, basically all the heating and cooling demand is lower, is under 15 kilowatts per hour per square meter per year. So this is a Pacific standard target, and the tightness we are under 1.7 renewables per hour. Okay, so in terms of energy demand, this is a building that if we compare it with the consumption of this building with its established by the Technical Building Code of Spain for near zero emission buildings, we are increasing the primary energy in a 50%. We are not increasing, we are reducing a 50% what is the maximum that establishes this Technical Building Code. So we are getting better in a 50%, but if we talk about primary energy non-renewable, we are doing things better in an 80%. Okay, so the energy required non-renewable is 80% less than what is required in our law for near zero emission building. In terms of emissions, only related to the use of the building, we are talking about 1.7 kilograms of carbon per square meters, and this is 70% less than that our code demands for near zero emission building. Okay, well, here are some images of the strategy, and here the roof where we can see these solar panels, this aerothermal that is in this box here, and these solar panels that will be connected with other buildings next to this one in a logic of energy community. So for finishing, this slide shows a little bit a very important thing. As you know, the cost of a building and the economic activity that is that concerns the construction process moves a lot of money and moves a lot of societies, a lot of other companies. In terms of intercooperation, this project, and this is a logic that belongs to all the cooperative system, tries to that all the societies and all the economy that surrounds this construction, it's a cooperative economy, and it's a non-for-profit economy with this idea of constructing a social market. Okay, not a capitalist market, but a social market. So in this example, Sostracivic is the real estate company, a cooperative that is doing all this with these users that belong, but that all the technical team are cooperative. We're talking about the team of Sostracivic that has promoted this building. The Cellular team is another cooperative. The construction society that has been doing the work is also a cooperative, and other agencies like the insurances, facilitation, or legal assessment are also cooperatives. And another element very important in this triangle are the resources, the economic resources. In these terms, the land has been provided by the municipality for almost free, and an ethical bank that is also a cooperative bank has provided the financement so that this building is possible. So I would like to finish a little bit with this image of Arles. It's a village in France. I don't know if you've known about it, if you heard about it. This is an image of late 500, 600 year 500, 400, 500 after Christ, and it's an image that a little bit shows the reaction of the society when the collapse of the Roman Empire. So I don't know if we are close to a collapse or not. There are many people that think that we are very close to a collapse. But what this image shows is that cities has to be rethought, have to be reconsidered, because life is going to change very fastly. And the role of Celoberta's cooperative is to help to find solutions to be more resilient in terms of this global change that we are beginning to see. And a little bit, I hope that this explanation and examples and shows a little bit, put a little bit of light into this defeat that we have as society, that it's not easy. So thank you very much. I think we have 10 minutes. I can stay 10 more minutes. If you have any questions or anything, it will be a pleasure for me to answer. I stopped the presentation, okay? I see that I've been a bit more long than I wanted. I'm sorry for that.
Very much, Diego, for your lecture. Maybe we can start with the first question, which is, since this building was occupied by dwellers very recently?
No, it's not occupied. It's still not occupied. We finished, but now the municipality has to. We are doing all this paper time to put everything okay so that people can arrive. But it will get into the building probably in February.
Okay. So my question was regarding the role of users, which you have talked about. Also, if you can develop a little bit, how has the group behaved as a group during that time, right? Because I imagine there's like people coming in and out, people who become like leaders, people who are, I mean, maybe they don't have that much time to participate or they're not that much interested.
Yeah.
So as an architect and from the discipline of architecture, how do you deal with all these social group, which are ultimately like the people you have to respond to with your design?
Yeah, in this case, we have to think that it's different to work with a project as Sostra Civic, that it has like its own leadership because it's a big structure with a team that it has a strong power in terms of leadership of the process, and it's different if we are talking about an independent cooperative of people that are much more self-organized and things are much less stable. So in this case, I would say the group, it has been very nice. It has been quite easy, I would say, because they have had to deal with strong decisions. For instance, at the beginning, the project had an underfloor for parking of motorcycles and bikes and even some cars, because they wanted that. And when the project was was almost maybe 6 months before the works, because of economic problems or difficulties, they decided to retire this underground floor, and so that they are still able to build the building in these ecologic terms. For instance, construction in wood was quite more expensive, a little bit more expensive than constructing in concrete, and they decided they made this decision, no? And they had to make 2 or 3 of these big decisions that were not easy, but they were like very committed with these main values, because they were like linked with these values. I would say that the process, it has been quite easy. I would say another aspect that is important is that this process, there were only 3 people at the beginning when we have this competition, and when the competition was won was when the group was fulfilled, and people arrived with the main decisions of the building already that were there. So in a process where you begin with a full group from the beginning, these competition decisions that are big decisions in terms of architecture are much more complex. I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Yes, thank you. I'll open the floor now for whoever wants to ask or make a comment.
Hi, Diego. Thanks very much for your presentation. I was going to ask how you've been able to prioritize all of these more socially inclined manifestations, such as how you moved the party wall back, or you were able to put such a large focus on the sustainability of the project and these collective spaces for the residents to use, rather than capitalizing on putting in more apartment units, for instance. And then you showed the last slide that kind of broke down all of the parties that have invested in this focus on the social market versus this capital market. And I think that, well, first of all, I think that it's kind of revolutionary in a sense, and I've never come across such a like how, I guess my question is, how were you able to instill these values in so many different parties and it's so many different cooperations, from construction to real estate, to developers, to residents? I mean, what was the process and timeline?
First of all, here, this land where the building has been built, it belongs to the municipality, and when the municipality transfers it to the cooperative, there are very strong conditions because they have this land for free, and these strong conditions are related to developing a grant of use cooperative, so non-for-profit organization. They are also you are also engaged with this energy efficiency, and in the competition process, we already said that we would build in wood and stuff. So many decisions were, because the land is public and you have to do the best offer to do the building. This encourages the people very much to do that, because if you don't do that, you are not able to win the competition, in one sense. But in the other sense, I would say that at the same time, people who are interested in accessing to this kind of dwelling are very much mentalized and committed with these values. Are people who are not looking for a personal profit. They are suffering the issue of the lack of housing in Spain and in Barcelona, but they are very conscious that they are participating in making bigger and extending a new model that hopefully it will push into being a real alternative to private market of private market of property, and also the alternative to the renting market. So all the people who are participating, most of these people, they really believe in the model, and they are very convinced, and they feel that they are constructing another world because it's possible. This change is possible, and they are the main actors of this change. So both things at the same time.
Thank you.
I mean, Diego, thank you very much for the amazing presentation. It's incredibly inspiring to see the projects, but also the way you work and the way you relate, the way you work with the projects that you make, do you get that you do, and the project that you are involved. I think it's an incredible commitment there. I have a question about timber.
Timber, okay.
And I have been asking this question to many before, and I just want to know more about, how is that? I mean, it's incredibly important to move away from concrete. That's for sure, right? And more and more, there are, practices all over Europe that they're trying timber in a way. But for example, in Greece, where I'm coming from, it's incredibly expensive to do it right now. So I'm wondering if there are specific incentives, or if there are subsidies for the use of timber in the context that we are working, or if it has become cheap. For me, it's a question of costs. It's not just sustainability; it's also about these issues, right?
Well, it's not an easy question to answer quickly, but first of all, no subsidies, nothing, because of wood at this moment. I would say that wood is a good material to build if you are able to get wood in a good price, and also if you're able to get wood that comes from a certificate forest. That means not from deforestation, and also if it's a wood that it's close to the place of your work. Because if the wood comes from 5,000 kilometers away, things begin to be a little bit not very coherent, I would say. So I imagine that in Greece, there are not, I'm not sure if you have big amount of forest or not, I'm not sure. The case of Catalonia is that we have a very big amount of forest. 70% of our land is forest, but our industry is not building, is not producing timber for construction. We are producing pellets to burn, and we are exporting pellets to Italy and to many other places in Europe, but we are not transforming this wood into constructive wood. And in this case, our wood came from Austria. So, but what happens? The more wood is demanded, the more the locals are interested in making a good management of the forest, so and to develop industry so that the wood is able to be treated locally and to be exploited locally. This is the objective. But it's clear also that the wood is not available everywhere. So every place has to find their solutions. And well, here now, for instance, the wood has risen a lot in the last 6 months. This building now, I think we wouldn't have been able to build it if the works began 3 months later, because the wood, because of COVID, rised I think 200%, depending on the type of wood. So now we are beginning, for instance, we continue with the wood, but the new project we are developing, we are not thinking in using such a big amount of wood, and we are optimizing the design of the structure so it is less, we need less cubic meters of wood. And now, for instance, there are some other colleagues that they are building a building here in Barcelona for a cooperative also, that it's earth building. The structure are walls of earth, and the only thing that is wood are the stores. So we have to always look what is available locally, and also think that the market changes because of demand. So are both things at the same time.
Can I make a question, or we're running out of time here?
No, come on. I have 5 more minutes. I have a meeting at 45, so at 45 I won't be here, but yeah, we have 5 more minutes. Thanks.
Thank you for the presentation. And I think it's a little bit building on Alison's question and Platon as well, I guess, in terms of demand and the using the local resources. But my question goes towards your office, on how your office works. You said that you have people from different spheres, different backgrounds interacting in your office, and imagining that there are new, not industries, but activities such as the banking, the finance part of it, or all these cooperative activities that you named that are surrounding this kind of projects. Is your office in particular working in another sphere rather than architecture exclusively, or in the promotion of architecture?
Yeah, we are very much into what we call intercooperation. That means making alliances and working together with other specialists of other issues, that together we can provide, construct new societies that are able to do things that ourselves by our own we wouldn't be able to do. For instance, a few years ago, we intercooperating with other cooperative, we promote the creation of it was a cooperative that had the deal of managing the buildings and to I don't know the name, an administrador de fincas. I don't know how to say that in English.
Yeah, it's like building management or community management.
Yeah, building
like administration of.
Exactly. It didn't exist a cooperative that that made these activities. So with other societies, we promoted the creation of this society. We also recently, 3 or 4 years ago, we created Parviura. For instance, Parviura is a manager of self-construction processes. For instance, if a cooperative that is not Sostra-Civic, but is a cooperative that is created by friends or people who belong to a community and want to present themselves to a competition, or they want to buy a plot and promote a cooperative grant for use, Parviura is a society that can manage the whole process of self-promotion, but it's not only an issue of architecture. Architecture is a little part of it. It's an important part, but it's not the only part, and it's not the main part. We have a very important financial issues to be solved. We have very important economical issues to be solved, and also legal issues to be solved. And another very important aspect is always everything with deals with facilitation of processes and with making decision process and how do you deal with problems. Because if in a couple you have problems when you make your reform or your new house, imagine with a group of 20 families that come to meet each other recently and have to deal with an investment of 5 million euro, for instance. I gave you the 2 examples. There are plenty examples.
No, I imagine that there's like holes or niches opening all over the place. And I was interested if your office being there at this particular moment was like getting into those places.
Yeah, and we also belong to a cooperative group that is called Group Ecos, that there are like 15 or 20 cooperatives of different that produce different services, complementary, but the idea is to be massive in terms of visibility and in terms of market capacity and business development. The bigger the cooperative system is, the better the world would be because all cooperative has an engagement with ameliorating our society, and also an engagement in terms of the internal democracy and non-for-profit. So one of the targets of cooperativism is expanding cooperativism by the way of social market that I was talking before.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Diego. We don't want you to blame Projective Series program for being late in your next meeting. We can leave it here. Thank you very much for your time, both lecture and conversation. It was really interesting.
Thank you. I'm sorry because some words didn't come off, but it will be better next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Diego.
See you.